This is Tammy Basquet, and you are listening to Life Coach Life, the podcast, episode number 3. Hello, my beautiful friends. Getting some really nice response from you on my recording so far. So thanks for that. We can all use a little feedback, right? So this week I want to talk to you about control. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just control all the stuff? Control the way people drive, how long things take, how we look, how people behave towards us. How about our family? Wouldn't it be great to kind of manipulate and control the way they do things? Our coworkers, maybe even a friend or two. I work every day with some of the most wonderful people. They are my clients. And at some point in our work together, we really dig in to focus more on what they're thinking inside their heads and why they are thinking it. Because I'll say over and over again that absolutely, positively one thing that we have control over is our thoughts and what we think. And it's really, really important to separate out the people, the places, and the things in our lives that we have no control over. Things that happened in our past or things that happened to us that maybe in hindsight now we know happened for us. And one way to do that is to look at how we think about those people, places, and things. And the second way is to think about what we make it mean. That's where our control is. And I'm not going to try to sell you on this, but I just want you to stay open. Some of you may know I do this exercise called The Work. And with this, and working with my clients, there's a part 4 to this exercise where we magically open up their head and remove the painful thought that isn't serving them. We just go in there, open up the head, remove the painful thought, and most of my clients feel an instant sense of relief when they can imagine this happening, and that's the good news. They played along. It shows me that even in the toughest situations, they now have a new tool, a new self-empowerment way of removing that painful thought, and it gives them instant relief from their suffering. Some clients initially have a very difficult time with this tool and in the releasing of their painful thought. There is a very deep resistance. And what Byron Katie, who developed this work, suggest is that we move through our thoughts without resistance and that we move toward the kinder thought, the kindest thought we could have for ourselves and others in moving toward new action and change. Because by not doing this, when we're in resistance with our thoughts, we're in war with our own reality. We are in war with ourselves and the people around us. And we are in war with what she calls what is. So here's a painful thought example. My family doesn't love me. As a coach, I ask, is that true? Client says, yes. As the coach, I ask, can you absolutely know for sure that that is true? Some clients will say yes. Some clients will say no. That's all I'm looking for. When I then ask them to be in the moment when they last believed the thought that my family doesn't love me, how does this one thought make you feel in your mind, body, and soul? And the answer sometimes sounds like, I feel invisible, I feel horrible, I feel unloved and unworthy, I feel like I'm always wrong no matter what I do, I'm depressed, I'm completely alone, and there's just a lot of self-hatred with this thought. So you can see with this example how important it is for a client's well-being and success to gently remove this painful thought through the work that we do. Even though the belief of thinking otherwise is not yet there for them, believing that it is in their best interest to modify this thought to get some relief is where we're going. After we do that, we then kind of dance with some opposite thoughts and look for examples to support these opposite thoughts to the painful thought. So my family can't love me becomes I can't love my family. My family can love me. I can't love myself. And then bingo. Usually we will find an underlying truth and the work begins again, peeling it back layer by layer until we can be with it, process it, heal it, and coach it forward. And that is the only thing we have control over, our thoughts and what they are creating in our life. Thoughts can create joy, comfort, pain, suffering, depression, sickness, illness. Painful thoughts are everywhere in our days. Examples, I need to get a divorce. I hate my body. I can't do this anymore. She is a monster. I don't know what's wrong with me. So what's your painful thought? Of course, one-on-one coaching with me, we would go much deeper and more detailed. And I'm just giving you a small example, but I still want to offer you a resolve here on this podcast. Do the work on your painful thought. Ask yourself, is it true? Can you know that it's absolutely true? How do you feel in your body, mind, spirit, soul when you believe this thought? Then remove the thought and see what changes. Toss around some opposite thoughts. And then the next step is to really start deciding what you want to think instead. What you want to think on purpose. Because if you don't tell your brain what to focus on or what to think about, it's always going to go back to an old negative pattern. Your brain is efficient. It likes to do what it's really good at. And what it's really good at is stuff that it's done over and over again. And unfortunately, for many of us, that's a lot of very negative, anxiety-producing, frustrating, angry, depressive thoughts. So I want you to become aware of what you're thinking. Notice how that's causing you to feel, how to react, and then notice the results that those thoughts are creating in your life. Allow your thoughts, allow your feelings, then decide whether you're going to react to them or not. When you resist something, you block it completely out of your consciousness. It doesn't mean that you ever stop thinking it. It really doesn't mean you stop feeling it. And you most likely will be reacting to it because it's still unconscious. So we want to bring it forward. Because that's why so many people feel out of control all the time. Because they feel like they don't know why they're doing what they do. They'll say things like, I don't want to yell at my kids. I don't want to hate my husband. I don't want to yell at my husband or my sister or my mother or my brother. I don't want to be drinking wine anymore to get through or taking pills from this old pain, but I just can't seem to control it. The reason why we're unable to control our reactions and our actions in our life is because we're unaware of the thoughts and the feelings that are driving them. Once we become aware, it becomes much easier to notice the thought and the feeling before we react, and then to make a deliberate choice right then and there. Ultimately, the choice can happen at this level when you're deciding your mind and telling it what to think. You're deciding and directing your mind and telling it what to think. And this is not just a think happy and you will be happy exercise or mantra. I want you to recognize that if there's any emotion, any at all, negative or positive, bring it on. We're not supposed to live our whole life with just positive emotion. That's just totally impractical. There are instances in your life where you're going to want to choose negative emotion. And all that means is that you're human. So go from a painful thought like, I am no good, I'm not worth anything, to, look at me. I'm just being human here. Can you see how that's a more neutral way of thinking and how it can take away some of the negative connotation and pain? And it shifts you into a different feeling without trying to pretend anything. You have the power to really look at some of these thoughts you have, especially the negative ones, and just see what's going on in there with them. At that point, then you can decide, is this something I want to continue to think or not? And then you can start focusing on what you do want to think. When this podcast is over and you notice that you have a lot of thoughts about yourself that are similar to negative things like I'm no good, I'm never going to amount to anything, I'm never going to be able to lose this weight, I'm not as talented or as thin or as beautiful as other people. Whatever it is that comes up for you, I want you to greet the thought with compassion, with humanity. Just simply notice that that's what you're thinking. Be curious why you are making the choice to think that. Why are you choosing to think that? And really acknowledge that it's something you're choosing to think, and still be compassionate with yourself about it. Just that in and of itself makes it so much easier to release the painful thought. Now, again, this is not pretending. It's not, I wish I believed that my family loved me, so I'm just going to say, my family loves me. My family loves me. No. You can't convince yourself or mantra yourself to this. You need a new modified thought that has to be believable and it has to be felt. So perhaps go from, I have a family that doesn't love me, to just, I have a family. And go to the place in your mind where you recognize that you have a family. That neutral statement can be so much better for you than I have a family that doesn't love me, right? That's a thought that you can focus your brain onto. I have a family, I have a family, I have a family. Notice when the negative thought wants to interject and pop up, you can redirect it to, I have a family, and leave it at that. Because the problem for most of us is we believe our thoughts. We believe that everything we think is true about ourselves and about them and about the world. And if we're thinking a bunch of negative thoughts about ourselves, then we're going to believe that we're horrible, negative people. The truth is, they are just thoughts. It's not who we really are. They are just thoughts that we have decided to think, we have chosen to think, and we can decide and choose to think something different. Now, warning, if you try to approach this process with resistance and with anger, you're going to get into some trouble, because you will start to add thoughts on top of the original negative thought, and then you're going to beat yourself up for having more negative thoughts, and then you're going to try and push it away and just pretend like you don't have any of these negative thoughts, but what you really need to do is step back and just say, ah, Susan, that's just a thought. Ah, Tammy, that's just a thought. That's interesting. That's fascinating. Why would I choose to think that I am blank, that I am unlovable, that I am disgusting, that I am horrible, that my body is just terrible? Just ask yourself, why would I choose to think that now? Is that a thought I want to keep thinking? Why or why not? And then from there, the ultimate step is, can I change what my brain is focusing on now? If you direct your mind in a way that's thinking about creation rather than being a victim of your circumstance, you then get more goal-oriented. You get more positivity towards what you want to create and what future you want to have, and you get to use your imagination. You're putting your brain to work to do what you want it to do. So put your brain to work, manage your brain this week. And if you need some help with this, I'm always here to walk you through each and every single painful thought and get you back on the road to creation, imagination, and joy. It's some of the most life-changing work you will ever do. I believe that this level of thinking should be a part of every college curriculum. When we're 18 years old and we're simply becoming who we were meant to be, I believe this work is life-changing during transitions of marriage and motherhood and divorce and breakups and death. It works for every age, at every stage. It works for perfectionists and codependence and enmeshment and family systems. So if any of this resonates for you or someone that you know, I want you to share this podcast and I want to work with you. Let's get your thoughts, your mind, and your life back on track. You can reach me on Facebook, on Messenger, at tbasquet@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and please remember, your mind matters in everything that you do. This is Tammy Basquet from Life Coach Life. Have a fantastic week.